buy the tickets, and at 6 a.m. on the morning of the trip, I exerted Herculean amounts of willpower to force myself out of bed, into the shower, and then into the car. I drove an hour and a half from my apartment, and I met Meg and Jessa at the park entrance. But I ended up alone within the hour because, of course, Meg and Jessa decided to do the Fury 325, the world's tallest and fastest giga coaster, and I was like, no way in hell.
"We've gotta do it, babe," Jessa squealed. "Cassie, you'll be fine, right? Look, there's the afterburn. It's milder. You can ride that one. Meet you here later. Awesome."
And they danced off together, with Meg casting a sort of apologetic look back at me. Meg was right about one thing. The lines were surprisingly short. I was able to breeze through the lower waiting area, right past the squiggly barriers where they channeled people in tight coils on busy days. I climbed the wooden steps nearly to the top of the platform before I had to stop and wait in line. I was totally fine by myself. I was fine standing there, mindlessly scrolling through Twitter, while the mother ahead of me tried in shrill tones to convince her nervous 9-year-old son that he was ready for this kind of ride. Somewhere above and ahead of me, I hear the rattling clank and the whir of the coaster, followed by a chorus of screams. I closed Twitter and opened my Facebook app. I barely went on Facebook anymore, but when I did, it was to stalk my ex, because I was one of those women, much as I hated to admit it. I'd met Ajax 2 years ago when I first got the job as the music teacher for Mueller Road Elementary. I'd gone out with a few friends to celebrate, and one of them had brought him along. What was supposed to be a demure night of celebratory champagne had ended with me accompanying him to his apartment, where he explained his sexual expectations and made me scrub myself and shave everything before he finally nodded and said that I passed inspection. I'd thought it was strange, but really hot in a kinky sort of way. Ajax had been charmingly addictive, and I had a bit of an addictive personality. Obsessive, I guess. I couldn't just like something a little bit. I always went all the way. A soft tingle traced between my legs as I stared at Ajax's profile picture. Beautiful olive skin, glossy dark hair waving past his chin, a perfectly trimmed goatee, that glimmer of perpetual hunger in his eyes. Movement in the line shook me out of my stupor. I swallowed and zipped the phone into my tiny backpack. What was I doing getting turned on by a Facebook photo while standing in line with families and kids and stuff? What the hell was wrong with me? I was nearly to the roller coaster. 6 dividers channeled people into different rows, 4 people per row. I shuffled into one of the holding areas and stared at the massive male back in front of me. Huge, mounded shoulder blades packed with muscle, and a strip of bronze neck showing between the collar of the white t-shirt and a knot of golden hair. Not pale blonde hair, not bleached. Golden. Rich, warm, beautiful. The short sleeves of the t-shirt stretched around the man's biceps. Despite the late morning sun, it was still a little chilly for short sleeves, but to each their own. His arms were perfectly sculpted slopes and swells of hard flesh, tanned a deep golden brown. My gaze traveled down to the hands, relaxed at his sides, fingers arched. The backs of his hands were threaded with tendons and bold veins under that bronze skin. Damn. The barriers swung open, and a bored attendant welcomed us to the ride and launched into a safety spiel. Dazed, I followed the bronze muscle guy into the row of 4 seats. I avoided looking at him. He probably got stared at a lot.